What if the Queen of Arendelle, her sister the princess, and the orphan with an ice obsession were all just pawns in someone else's game? What if we told you that Destiny was a troll in a moss tunic? Okay, so big accusation. We can't possibly be implying that the sweet little rock trolls are some kind of puppeteers who have been pulling the strings of fate all along. Can we? Well, let's dial back the accusations for a second and review what we know. First thing first, who or what are the rock trolls? Living in the Valley of the Living Rock, which is a very fitting name, the trolls are ancient little creatures that can transform into rocks and burrow into the ground whenever they feel like it. And when we say ancient, we do mean ancient. According to Memory and Magic, the second book in a series set after the first Frozen film, trolls can live for more than 700 years. They're the oldest creatures in Arendelle, so they've seen a lot, though they seem to prefer their peaceful isolation. The first time we see them, it's through a picture in a book in the royal library. When King Agnar opens the book, a map falls out, leading directly to the Valley of the Living Rock. Agnar knew it was there, he knew about the trolls, and he knew about their magic. More importantly, he knew they would be willing to help. And they would help him, except maybe they were helping themselves a little bit too. If you're familiar with Nordic troll lore, though, you might have been a little nervous when the king and queen took their daughters to the trolls. On the off chance that you're not an expert on Nordic troll lore, let us explain. Basically, in Nordic mythology, trolls are these creatures that can produce really amazing feats of magic. But because they're so stupid, it's not too hard for humans to outsmart their enchantments. Now, there are a lot of different myths and folklore about trolls. So this is a very condensed version of it, but the gist of it is trolls aren't very nice in legends. There are the odd, kind, and wise trolls, but by and large, Nordic trolls prefer to use their connections with nature to mischievously mess with humans, but in messed up ways. Some stories say that they can lure unsuspecting humans into their caves, whether through magical spells or just straight up kidnapping, and then eat them, because in troll lore, they like the taste of human flesh, child flesh in particular. Rumor on the street is if you misbehaved, a troll will snatch you up and eat you. Yum. Cave trolls do have a weakness you can exploit if you're ever about to become a snack, however. When hit by the rays of the sun, a troll turns to stone. Doesn't that sound familiar? The rock trolls in Frozen are sort of similar to those of folklore. They both have magic, they're small and round, and they can both turn to stone. Now, we don't know if the rock trolls in Frozen have the same problem with the sun since all of their scenes are at night, but they do still transform into rocks. It's more voluntary transformation though, and that's where the trolls of lore separate from the rock trolls of Frozen. Not only do they not eat Anna and Elsa, but there's that whole deal with Kristoff to unpack too. At a glance, Kristoff is just the love interest of the second main character. He's cute, sure, and he's loyal, but what do we really know about him? Despite being the first character in the main cast to appear on screen, somehow his origins are more of a mystery than the trolls. Fortunately, we can fill in some of the gaps with context clues. The film opens with the ice harvesters, and seeing as the men take off on their sleds and wagons without any consideration for the little kid trailing after them, it can be assumed that he isn't one of their sons. So he's an orphan. Then whose actual father might have been an ice harvester and sparked his interest in ice? We can't really confirm anything unless you're willing to take the word of some deleted tweets made by the chief creative officer of Walt Disney Animation Studios, proclaiming Kristoff's an orphan and nothing more. It doesn't really matter anyway, since his story only gets interesting After the first scene, Kristoff tails the royal family into the Valley of the Living Rock when they try to save Anna the first time around. True to the troll lore, he gets kidnapped. Contrary to troll lore, it's more of an adoption. The next time we see Kristoff, a full 12 years later, he's very much one of the trolls. But what does any of this have to do with all that stuff about destiny at the start of the video? Well, more than you think. You see, the trolls in Frozen are actually different from their folklore counterparts in one other way. The rock trolls can see the future. When Grandpappy speaks to Elsa and Anna before they head off to find the spirits, he holds his hands up into the air and says, "Let me see what I can see," and conjures an image of the past, and then warns them that if they don't find the truth, he doesn't see a future. He also tells them that when one can see no future, all one can do is the next right thing. So there we have it. The rock trolls, or at least Grandpappy, can see the future. So what? Well, if we go back to the first film, knowing that Grandpappy can see the future makes something feel a little off. Surely he would have known that Elsa would lose control of her power if she had to conceal it like she did. He would have seen the frozen summer coming, but he didn't do anything to help her. He could have tried to help Elsa control her powers in some way. Granted, we don't know what he'd be able to do, but a nearly 7 centuries old magical creature should have some sort of advice beyond fear will be your enemy. But even when the king lays out his plan to keep Elsa hidden away from everything and everyone, Grandpappy says nothing. So Elsa goes home, spends the next 12 years torturing herself with guilt and fear, and then goes off like a snowy nuke. Then Anna goes to save her and meets Kristoff in the process. Kristoff, who brings her home to the trolls. The same Kristoff who was adopted by the trolls 12 years ago. The only man in all of Arendelle that can help her. So what exactly are we implying? Consider the fact that if Grandpappy had helped Elsa as a child, the frozen summer never would have happened, and Anna would have never had a reason to meet Kristoff, the human son of the trolls. You see, trolls in folklore are one thing. They're selfish. They'll do whatever they have to do for themselves, even eating children just because they like the taste. We've already established that the rock trolls don't eat children. In fact, they seem to love children, well, by adoption. Kristoff is their child, so if your species is inherently selfish and you love your children greatly, you would want to be selfish for them. You'd want to prioritize them over anything else, their happiness, their future, their destiny. Plus, they're love experts, remember? They're obsessed with love. What more could they want for one of their own than for him to be in love? Remember, they're selfish, so they only want the best. Who could be better for their beloved little human boy than the princess of the humans? So, having seen that Kristoff would join their family, Grandpappy set Elsa on a path to destruction, albeit temporary, allowing Kristoff to help Anna save Arendelle and fall in love in the process. Then, at the advice of Grandpappy in the sequel, they once again set off on a journey that brings Anna and Kristoff closer together, now as Queen of Arendelle and her betrothed. To be clear, we're not saying the trolls are evil puppeteers pulling the strings of fate in their favor. We're saying that they're neutral puppeteers. At the end of the day, Grandpappy's advice eventually led to Arendelle being saved both times. We honestly don't know if a rock troll would be bothered by the cold, but it's entirely likely that being so closely tied to nature, they want to protect it as much as possible. If the path to that protection just so happens to include a fairy tale life for one of their own, well, who can judge them? We guess what we're trying to say is that if Anna and Kristoff do get married in a third movie, the Queen of Arendelle is going to have some seriously controlling in-laws. Let us know your thoughts about the trolls in the comments below. See ya in the next one.